College Board says that this is a hard question. Let's see what you think. As always, start with the passage and just try to think about any strong words, anything that's going to help us fill that blank. Text corpora, such as the Bank of English, are enormous collections of electronically stored text that can be used for empirical testing of hypotheses regarding the frequency of typical word usage. I don't know what's important in that, but I can see the blank is coming up, so let's see what we get. If one has a blank that the word get has a high incidence in English, for example, an analysis of a corpus can support that hypothesis by showing that get is the fifth most commonly used verb. You've got to notice stuff like that for these vocab questions. They are literally just repeating themselves, right? It's the pronoun that really does it for me, right? The word that here is telling me I've already used that word or that idea, right? And so that's kind of what the blank is representing here. If one has a hypothesis that the word get has a high incidence in English, an analysis of a corpus can support that hypothesis, right? This is a very clear kind of structure that we use in English, but also that we specifically see is kind of like the core idea for most of these vocab questions. So now I have a clear, dumb summary of what I need that blank to say. I know it's not going to actually say hypothesis, but I can look at the choices, and hopefully this is one of those cases where you just know what word has to fit there. So for me, it's very obvious. It's the word supposition, because supposition is just another version of the word suppose, right? And if you suppose something, I suppose that I should get some food for lunch later. Like it means I think, I guess, it's a hypothesis. It's not something definitive. So it's a perfect fit. Now, I wonder if for some of you, this might be one of those questions where you've got to learn new vocabulary words, because supposition itself is not necessarily a common English word. It's definitely more of that like SAT level of vocabulary. And so is maybe a word like synopsis, which looks similar, but a synopsis is going to be a summary. So a lot of times if you kind of like look at like a Wikipedia page, that word synopsis will be there. It'll for like a movie or a book or something. The synopsis is just telling you what happens in the movie, in the book, whatever. So hopefully that's a word you've encountered just through being on the internet. But I would imagine that for many people, that's a new word. Recognition, do you recognize the origin of that word? It's recognize, right? So you know what recognize means. That's a pretty common word. Scheme, has kind of two different meanings. It can just mean something very neutral, like the word plan. A scheme is kind of a plan, but a scheme can also kind of be like, well, it can be an evil plan, right? A scheme is you're kind of, plotting and you're kind of trying to maybe like deceive people in some way. That's kind of my impression of the word. I don't think in either case does it work here, because we're trying to suppose that the word get has a high incidence, and then that is being confirmed by something later by looking at this corpus. But to me, this is an easy question, because I definitely don't have any trouble with the words. Even though supposition is a little bit uncommon, it's still very clearly related to a much more common word. But also, they just give you the definition. So that's the main takeaway, is you've got to recognize when they're setting you up with this kind of symmetry in a passage where there's like a pronoun or something. Sometimes a colon will do this as well, where they're clearly repeating an idea they said earlier. Very often that idea is the blank. And so you got to be able to match those things up, because then the dumb summary is easy to find. And then it's not like you're plugging in all of these answer choices, seeing which one sounds best. They're looking for a specific definition. And hopefully, choice C is obvious to you. Let me know what you think. Or were these truly hard words where most people didn't know what the words meant? Was the passage harder than I'm making it sound? I'm curious what you guys think.